Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipsson. Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode of 2024. Today's episode is number 129 and features Mark Koesterer. Mark is the founder of the Players NIL and a CEO, public speaker, entrepreneur, thought leader, community leader, and an author. We spoke about NIL for all, the importance his father played in his life, leaving a legacy, using athletics to better your life, and much, much more. Mark Koesterer, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you, Marcus. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And for those who might not know who you are the founder of the Players NIL. So just to start with the basics, what is NIL?
Well, it's something that's actually been around for a long time. It refers to name, image, and likeness, which actually means a person's right to manage and control their, as it says, name, image, and likeness, so their personal public property. In professional athletes, it's been going on forever. As we grew up with kids, there were professional athletes in Europe and the United States that sponsored products, that created a brand, interacting with public society. But in July of 2021, the U.S. first time ever allowed college athletes and now high school athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness without losing their athletic eligibility.
Yeah, and of course that creates a huge opportunity for college athletes to now be able to make money out of their college career. So talk a little bit about your venture, the Players NIL, and what you do with these college athletes.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to just slightly correct something that you said, and it isn't you, it's the perception that everyone has, because that's what we talk about, and everyone thinks it's about money. They think and they read, and the news sensationalizes the star athletes in the United States and the money that they're receiving. And there are several of them that are receiving lots of money, 7 figures plus. No question that that's true. But I'm here to tell you that that is not the majority of athletes. The majority of athletes are everyday, lower level athletes in sports that maybe aren't as televised or as publicized as others in the United States. And so we're here to educate and empower all athletes, but specifically the 98% that don't have access to, tremendous tools because of their celebrity on the field, and actually have to create what we call real NIL, REAL, which is you get paid to transact, whether it's a social post or an appearance or an autograph, or you're selling apparel, or you're creating some type of value for a brand that pays you. That's what NIL really is meant to be. We've just hijacked the story because we talk about and sensationalize those top level athletes.
Yeah, good that made that clear. So to talk a little bit about the Players NIL, what is it that you do with your company?
Yeah, so we've put together an educational product that involves several pieces, but mostly it's around building a personal brand and creating individual value by telling a story and creating an audience. In the first 2 years of NIL here in the United States, 74% of NIL deals are based on social media. So in other words, being an influencer. And I tell everyone with a smile that the Kardashians have changed the world, right? Influencer marketing is a real thing. Now, athletes have an opportunity to actually expand upon that because sports fan is actually short for fanatic, which means that you have a rabid following of followers and supporters and people that are interested in you. So your job as an athlete is to grow and expand that audience by telling a story, sharing who you are, what you're interested in. Is it math? Is it science? Is it travel? Is it food? Is it sneakers, apparel? And then creating leverage as an influencer by taking that audience and matching it against a brand that's interested in connecting with them.
You have some pillars, 5 pillars, right, of the education. Do you want to just touch a little bit about what it is that this course include?
Yeah, so these are the pillars that I've developed over a lifetime involved in athletics as an athlete, as a parent, as a coach, as a CEO in business. And these are what I feel are fundamental pillars that are necessary for young people today, and specifically athletes in this case, to master in order to create opportunities, professional opportunities in the future. And I don't mean professional sports, I mean job and career. The first one is digital marketing. And as I alluded to, it's about telling a story and growing an audience, not just your friends and family circle. So not just the people that follow you because you live in the same town, but how do you grow that audience? How do you tell a story and create a greater following? The second pillar is how do you leverage that with a brand? That's called influencer marketing. So digital marketing is one, influencer marketing is two. We delve into some tax and legal and compliance issues, which are pretty much relevant to athletes in the United States. Number four is a pillar that is universal around the world, and that is community service and philanthropy. And how do you build your brand? By expanding your audience, by giving back and telling your story of charitable and philanthropy contributions to society. We believe that athletes enjoy a level of celebrity unlike the average person, and it's their responsibility to give back, and it's a great way to build a brand. That's pillar four. The fifth and final pillar is financial literacy. And just as it suggests, if you have a few dollars or if you're trying to make a few dollars at a young age, how you can set yourself up for success long-term by understanding the power of money and the pitfall of money.
You're a father to college athletes. You have been one yourself, and I've read a lot about also your father was involved a lot as well in the athletics. So how did this come to? Like, why did you decide also to help the college athletes? Because I see that this is dear to you.
Yes, thank you for recognizing that. We have two foundational principles of our business. The first is, and again, this is universal. How do you use athletics to better your life? Right? Create academic opportunities, professional opportunities, career opportunities, social opportunities to meet people, life skills. And I think young people today can do it a number of ways. As I said, you can do it with math and science and technology. You can be involved in history. There's lots of ways to have a passion. But for those of us who athletics has touched, it's a great way to build a foundation. Once that career is over, which it is for everyone at some point, the second principle of our business is how do you use athletics to better the lives of the people around you? My father was an educator, and he taught me the first principle as a young teenager, and I was able to do that to get a college scholarship to play sports in college. The second principle came to me when I became a father, and I realized that I wanted to use athletics to better the lives of my children. It then grew to my community, friends and family, people I lived in the town with, and I became a leader in terms of creating opportunities for young people to use athletics to better their lives. Then professionally, I did the same thing. I was involved in the sports and entertainment business, and it was there that I used athletics in our business to empower young people in life and business skills. And we ran a successful program in Los Angeles, California, and Hollywood, hired 26 people through this development program, 13 of whom ended up becoming full-time employees, and 6 of them own their own businesses today. So I've always been about empowering others and using my platform as an athlete, as an athletic leader, as a CEO to better the lives of the people around me. And the Players NIL is just a natural progression of that mentality.
I love that. My father was also an entrepreneur, and he said that the biggest achievement for him was when he saw that employees that he trained moved on to bigger things later on. And then he saw that, as a coaching thing and validation of his work. So yeah, let's dig into your career a little bit. You mentioned there that you were in Hollywood, so with Sports Studio, but you were also president for IAS Athletic Apparel. I read, so you want to take it from there and then, see how your career went on up until today?
Yeah, so in 2008, I got an opportunity to move to California and begin working with a company that was involved in creating and building athletic uniforms for high schools and colleges, but also for Hollywood, for TV shows and movies. So some of the great movies in the history of American sports movies, Any Given Sunday, The Replacement, Miracle, We Are Marshall, 8 Men Out, Field of Dreams. This company built and created the uniforms for those movies. And my first job with the company was running the manufacturing facility, actually making uniforms and working with the Hollywood component and with the direct-to-team sports component. In 2010, I became the president and CEO of the entire organization. And it was there that we really started to gain traction because we became a sole licensee to supply what we call production services to scripted sports content in Hollywood. So TV shows, movies, commercials, photo shoots, feature films. And we did everything around the sports action. We did all the casting, the choreography, the props, the uniforms, the product placement. And we were the exclusive licensee for the National Football League, Major League Baseball, NBA, U.S. Soccer, Major League Soccer, a lot of college programs. And so I learned a lot about athletes and marketing and branding and agents and production, sponsorship, group licensing, these types of things, which really set me up for the name, image, and likeness opportunity.
And at Sports Studios, you were working a lot with sporting teams and leagues as well, NFL, NBA, MLB. And I read a story there that you had some, you got in contact with the NFL through some type of a legal case. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the history of the company was they had made uniforms for commercials for the National Football League for many years without authorization, without licensing. There was no licensing in those days, so they didn't actually break any rules. But the NFL had been on a journey to consolidate all of their licensed partners. They saw a revenue stream there. And so all of a sudden, the NFL was in control of all the aspects of the on-field uniforms, from the footwear to the headwear to the uniforms to the gloves, and all of the accessories, the Gatorade containers, the headsets. They were licensing everything. And just so happened that it coincided with me being announced as president and CEO of Sports Studio. My first day on the job in the corner office, I was sitting there. I called my father. I said, I made it to the corner office. I thought it was a pretty big deal. And in through the door comes the FedEx delivery man with an envelope. And it was a cease and desist letter from the National Football League telling me we could no longer do what was about 60% of our business at the time. I very quickly came back to earth, and I realized that I had some work to do. And it wasn't that the NFL was restricting us. They just wanted to control what was going on and wanted to partner with us. So I took that opportunity and went to New York City and sat down, and we hammered out the first ever entertainment license with the National Football League, where we became their eyes and ears in Hollywood. We controlled all of the content that was being approved or not approved. We protected the sponsors. We protected the league. In the NFL, like they like to say, that we protected the shield, and we became really valuable partners to them. And I think it proved to be a great relationship, which we then leveraged with basketball, baseball, soccer, etc.
That's awesome. And, just to, make something good out of that, because as you said, like you made it to the corner office, then getting this type of pushback, but then being able to, move forward and continue, and you had this in mind. So how was that like, to go from this high to getting the promotion to then the down to then working up to make this deal with the NFL?
Well, part of the mantra of using athletics to better your life is fighting through adversity, right? And trying to figure out solutions to problems. In American football, we go by 10 yards at a time, first down, second down, third down, fourth down. And sometimes it's third down and a long way to go. And you have to figure out how you're going to get a first down. And I think business is like that. Life is like that. And thank God I had the foundation that my father gave me and that athletics gave me. And I knew that there was a solution. I didn't know what it was. I didn't really know what the National Football League was interested in or not interested in. But I knew if we communicated and we talked about it, that we were doing good work and that we were doing it for the right reasons. And I thought that we could probably come up with a solution.
And then you started the Players NIL. You have also written a book on the same topic. You had NIL podcast and then the course that we talked about. So what made you take this jump to start this company and become an entrepreneur?
Well, we sold Sports Studio in June of 21, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Name, image, and likeness was approved by the federal courts in July of 21, so just 1 month later. And I saw lots of the same things that I'd seen in Hollywood, Marcus. I saw, adults taking advantage of kids that weren't educated. And given my background and given my principles, I thought the one thing that was missing was education. And so we launched the Players NIL in 2021, and it was in hopes of trying to empower athletes and create opportunities. We've had a few distractions that I mentioned earlier. Most importantly, that people think that NIL is only for the famous athletes. And we're trying to make NIL more relatable and attainable. In one of the ways that we've done that is I wrote a book called NIL for All. It's a 30-minute read. It's a paperback. It's just a basic introduction, basically about sports marketing and about athlete branding and personal branding. And it's a great, synopsis on all the things that you need to understand in order to be successful in this space.
Great. I will put a link in the show notes for the book as well if someone wants to buy that. And you talked about your principles. I think it's really admirable that you have this education platform in the book and so on, because you said that you didn't want to be like an agency. You didn't want to take commission from these kids and, take advantage of them. So instead of, you could, that's an easy, I guess, if you're just chasing the money, used to take a commission, try to make money, but you took the high road and, you try to educate these kids. We talked about financial literacy. So again, you really follow your principles through, hard times and in good times, it seems.
Yeah. Well, remember, using athletics to better the lives of the people around us. That doesn't mean better the day, right? It's a long-term thing. It's not a 4-year relationship. It's a 40-year relationship on trying to build good citizens, good partners in life, good parents, good employees, good people. And I think that NIL creates an opportunity to do that if it's followed and the principles are guided properly. I think today's athletes have a tremendous opportunity to make a difference.
So where do we stand now in the United States? Like, what states allow NIL? Where is it up and coming? Which state is next? How is the landscape right now in the US?
Well, there's 2 different categories. So first in collegiate athletics, of which in the United States, there's 500,000 kids playing sports in college this year. Okay. So that's all sports, right? From football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, lacrosse, everything. And so in college, it's authorized across the country. It's a nationwide opportunity. In high school, about 34 states have it right now. We think that that's going to go to 50 states in the not too distant future. There's just some conversation around what should the rules be. And right now, every state has their own rules, and that's caused a few problems and headaches. But I think the future is nothing but upside. We are, again, sensationalizing those great athletes. And I don't know where that's going to lead. It may lead to revenue sharing because there's so much money for the television rights for some of these programs. But I think in the non-revenue sports, so not football, not basketball, it's going to create lifetime opportunities. And I think we're just figuring out, we're just beginning to understand what those opportunities may be. And I think coaches and administrators are starting to say, hey, what is this? How do I take advantage of it? How can it help my program? How can it help my alumni, my local business, my parents, my kids, my administrators and coaches below me? And I think we're just in the beginning after 2 years of realizing that NIL is for everyone. And again, that's the title of my book, NIL for All.
What are the top NIL sports? I heard that in another interview that you talked about that, and I found that really interesting.
Yeah, so as you would expect, American football is number 1. It's the biggest college sport out there. Number 2 is men's basketball. Number 3 is women's basketball. Number 4 is one of the fastest growing sports in collegiate athletics, and that is women's volleyball. And this is in terms of value of NIL deals is the category that we're classifying. And 6 of the top 10 sports are women's sports right now. And part of the reason is that, no offense to men out there, young boys, but women and girls are better at social media than boys. And so social media, remember, is 74% of most of NIL deals. And so, being active on social, being good on social, being, conversive and connecting with an audience is important. And sometimes girls do it better than boys.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned 74% is social media. So what other types of NIL deals are there outside of social media?
Yeah, so there's appearances, coming to a restaurant or coming to a car dealership and signing autographs, right? There's merchandise, signing helmets, signing jerseys. There's other deals where you can represent products in terms of, affiliate marketing. So you can, get consumer deals sent out to your audience with discount codes and things like that. But the majority, as I said, is based on social media.
Does the NIL allow players to focus more on their also sporting performances? They don't maybe need to take an extra job, or they can do this instead and focus more on school and on their sport. What benefits do you see, except for the financial one, that NIL brings to these college athletes?
Well, first of all, I think, building a social media platform and building a brand takes time. It is a job. Okay. It does take consistent effort. You may not be mowing lawns. You may not be painting houses. You may not be bagging groceries at the grocery store. But creating content takes time, editing it to storytelling takes time. So I'm not sure exactly, but I think the time is probably similar. It is a job, okay? But this job, will provide opportunities because in your storytelling, you can expand upon your interest and you can connect with businesses and individuals that may provide internships, may provide job opportunities, career learning. You may become an entrepreneur, start your own business. So many young people today, especially post-pandemic, they don't want to go back to an office, right? They don't want to sit down in an office from 9 to 5, the old traditional model. And so they want to be more flexible and they want to own their own business or be entrepreneur or be part of a tech startup. And this is a great way to jumpstart your professional career.
NFTs are something that, was really booming in like a few years back. It's still ongoing, obviously. Is that a big part of NIL as well?
It isn't today. I believe that NFTs do have a future, and this is just a personal opinion. I'm not in the NFT business, but NFT stands for non-fungible token. Essentially, it's a digital asset, right? It could be a picture. It could be an art piece. It could be anything that you can transfer digitally. And the blockchain allows for the continued path of ownership of that asset. Athletics has always been about memorabilia and about marketing assets such as photographs. Some of the most iconic sports photographs in the world are digital assets now. They've been digitized, right? And so I think there is a future where athletes will control their images from their competition and revenue share with their schools. And I think that those assets can be monetized through NFTs. But my opinion is NFTs will be more of a collector's item. And the story and the scenario that I share is hopefully next summer, I'm going to take my 2-year-old grandson to his first live sporting event. And wouldn't it be great if I could have a digital asset, group of digital assets commemorating that day, perhaps a ticket, perhaps a photograph from the day, right? Perhaps the program, perhaps some video highlight from a home run or a basket or a touchdown. And I could deliver that to my grandson. It may not be worth anything to anyone else, but to him, it digitizes and memorializes his first sporting event with his grandfather. And I think that's a realistic scenario that we're probably not far away from. And that would be a real great case for NFT usage. But of course, sports memorabilia at some point will become part of it, in my opinion.
Going back to your own story, we have talked about it a little bit, but how did you get into sports in the first place? Like, did you play many sports when you were a kid, or how did that interest start?
Yeah, I guess my father. My father was a college athlete and an athletic educator. He was a gym teacher. And so athletics was always part of his life and part of my life as a child. I just gravitated towards it. I was probably a little bit bigger than the rest of the kids in the neighborhood, so I had some success. And I got expelled from the neighborhood because I was too big and dominant, and I had to ride my bike to the other side of town and play with the older kids, which was a great experience. It provided lots of life skills and opportunities. And so athletics was always part of my life. And, using athletics to better your life just became a way of life for me.
So you played football, right? You were a Division II football player?
Yes, I was.
That was your sport, American football.
Well, my love was basketball. I just wasn't good enough to play in college, so I played football at what we call Division II, so a middle level school here. But it was on scholarship, and I played all 4 years, and some of the best friends of my life, and used athletics in a way that I never dreamed of as a child, but as it ended up, really a foundational piece of my life.
You're from New York, and then we talked about before, moving to California. So how was that change to go from New York to California?
Well, it's quite a change. I actually lived, born and raised on Long Island, which is, a suburb of New York City. So all of that excitement and energy around being near a city. But I actually raised my family 4 hours north in central New York in a country town. And then moving to the big city of Los Angeles was a culture shock, right? The number of people, the car, the cost of living, the competitiveness of the people, okay? I think California often is criticized or categorized as being laid back and cool. I actually found Hollywood to be as competitive as New York. In New York, they may say no to you. In Hollywood, they say yes, and then they don't do anything. So it's a little bit different mindset. But the competitiveness, and if you're not good at your job, if you're not good at what you do, there's a bunch of people waiting to take over. So I think, professionally, it was a really good injection of energy and really challenged me socially and lifestyle wise. California, offers lots to do and lots to see and way different than New York. I really enjoyed my time there.
Talking about now the college athletes and NIL and everything, like work-life balance, is that something that's important to teach kids, or what is your stance on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things that we're seeing in today's athletes are mental health issues, all right? And they're based on the fact that their whole life from childhood on has been about sports. They play the same sport year round, or they play sports year round. They're under pressure to win. The parents, the coaches, the community, everyone cheers for them. And they're feeling a sense of entitlement to some degree, but also the pressure to compete and be successful. At some point, some in high school, some in college, some as pros, sports is taken away. You're done competing. And what I've seen in my career, in my life, is lots of athletes who don't have any direction. They don't have any self-worth because their whole value was around sports. And I think one of the hidden success stories that has yet to come out, but will soon, is the mental health aspect of building a brand away from sports. Are you interested in bicycles? Are you interested in cooking? Are you a fashion person? Are you an artist? Are you a complex person that sports is just part of your life, not your whole life? And so I think, it's good, it's healthy for kids to get away from sports for a period of time, for them to heal physically, mentally, emotionally. And you can do that by building self-worth away from your sport. And there's lots of ways to do it, but I think NIL is one of the ways.
Yeah, and we talked about the pillars of your education before, financial literacy also. We talked about personal branding. I mean, you identify as an athlete when you are an athlete, but there will come a day when you are no longer an athlete. So what do you do then? A lot of the mental health issues come in then because you have some type of identity crisis. Maybe you didn't get the financial literacy course and you haven't invested your money well. And now you're seeing you're 35 years old, your career is sporting career is over, and you have hopefully another, 50 plus years. So what do you do then?
Right. Well, I think, again, but that's a very small percentage of athletes, right? That's the really high level professionals. And there's horror stories all over the world of people not using their money properly. But what about the kid that's in college that's 20, 21 years old that all of a sudden is making $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, right? Besides being on scholarship. If managed properly, that's life-changing money 50 years down the road. You can take that nest egg and manage it properly. You can invest in real estate or whatever that you want to, business stocks, but managed properly and staying away from the pitfalls of money can provide you an opportunity when you're 35, 40, 50 years old and later. And that's what we teach.
You're a father of 5. So what do you tell your kids, on this topic?
Yeah, well, my kids are retired and gone, so they're no longer competing, although I have one that is a coach. But, I think it's evolved. I think every young parent thinks they have all the answers, and they don't. I didn't. I made lots of mistakes. But this is my parenting philosophy. I think the 2 greatest things that parents can give their kids are confidence and opportunity. And again, there's different ways to give kids confidence. It can be through sports. It can be through art, math, science, history. But give them the confidence and then the opportunity. What do parents do? They sacrifice. They provide opportunities, whether it be coaching, travel teams, educational experiences, mentorship. And I think, using NIL is a way to do both of those things. But I think, what I try to teach my kids is, and who are now adults, and now I have a grandson and a second one on the way, is confidence and opportunity. Give the kids confidence that they can make the right decisions, that if something's going the wrong way, that they can step away from it. They don't become part of the pack mentality. And the opportunity is, to give them, if they work hard and take advantage of things, the opportunity to be successful.
Your father has obviously meant a lot to you. We have talked about that before. He really, put the framework for you and what you have now, I guess, also brought onto your kids. So how important has he been in your life?
Yeah, well, he's given me everything, right? He's given me the opportunity. And through sports, he gave me the confidence. And he was a great mentor. He retired relatively early from his professional career. And and chased my kids around and chased their sporting events. Unfortunately, in 2021, we lost my dad. And part of my foundation of this business was in writing his eulogy. Marcus, he was a junior high gym teacher. He was not a politician. He did not own a business. He never employed anyone. And hundreds of people came to his funeral. And the word that stuck with me was legacy. He had made an impression on his community through his church, through his charitable contributions, through who he was, his neighbors, how he dealt with people in the public. And I think that legacy became a big word for me at that moment. And it's part of what we're trying to do. I challenge young people all the time. If you disappeared today, would anyone care tomorrow? In other words, have you impacted anyone? Have you affected anyone in a positive way? And I think my father did for me and for many others, obviously, the thousands of kids that he taught. But he did for my 5 children and my 3 nieces and nephews. And he laid a great foundation, and I'm forever thankful.
That makes you think, right? So how do you look at your own legacy? What do you want to leave after?
Yeah, well, I'm living it, right? So I'm comfortable that I have used athletics to better my life, and I've used athletics to better the lives of the people around me. I started a youth program that grew to 4,000 students. I started a scholastic program that's put 200 kids in college here in the United States. As I said at Sports Studio, I mentored tens of people, some of whom have their own businesses now. I think my children are part of my legacy. And so I'm comfortable with who I am. If I disappeared today, I think someone might miss me, which is comforting. But I think there's a lot more to do. I think we can change thousands of lives with this company, with this platform. And so my legacy is still being written.
And I hope it continues for a very long time. We haven't seen the last of you yet for a long time. So on this topic with, what to bring on to the next generation and so forth, what is the best advice that you have ever received?
I've received a lot of good advice. I've had a lot of good coaches and a lot of good mentors. I don't know that there's anything specific about that. I've been asked that question. I think mostly it's, do the right thing. And it sounds simple, but it's true. Whether it's, being professional at work, whether it's making the right choices with your family, in society, your habits, your discipline. And I think do the right thing sounds simple, but it's really not easy. And sometimes it's hard to do. But that's why the self-confidence and the opportunity as parents comes into it. We want to give our kids the opportunity to do the right thing.
That's great. Has there been any bumps on the road in your career? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Of course, I don't think you live as long as I have, and everything's been perfect. We talked about the Sports Studio bump in the road on day one, sitting in the corner office thinking I had arrived. There have been other challenges. Sure, I think if you start a family, raise a family, there are financial pressures. There are professional choices. Not everyone makes the right choice and goes to the right company. Sometimes those don't work out. I think sometimes you do things as a parent that don't work out and you have to correct. And I think I've learned from all of my mistakes. Hopefully I won't repeat them. Hopefully I'll get better. But I think part of being an entrepreneur, part of being a risk taker, which I am both, and I guess to some degree an adrenaline junkie, I like the challenge, is that you may misstep once in a while. But as they say, you get knocked down, get back up. And I think that's, part of the life lessons and part of what athletics has taught me. But I don't think there's anyone that goes unscathed. We all have scars.
Definitely. So before we sign off here, I read somewhere, I don't know if this is correct, that you were writing also another book.
Yeah, well, I've been writing it for a long time. It's a parenting book. It's called 12-Year-Olds Win for All the Wrong Reasons. It's about youth sports. And, it's about my life journey as a parent and watching young kids who at age 12 dominated on the athletic field or the rink or the court. And by the time they were 16, they were just average. And by the time they were 18, they were out of sports. And why is that? Because they won too early for the wrong reasons. They were bigger than everyone else. Their parents paid more money for coaches. They had better equipment. And so, there's not a direct line. It's definitely not a straight line from age 12 to age 22, right? And so what are the things that continue to be important? If you're not foundationally strong in terms of competitiveness, in terms of skill development, in terms of handling how to lose, right? And how to be a good teammate, how to be coachable. If you're the 12-year-old superstar and mommy and daddy give you a trophy every weekend because you're amazing, sometimes that doesn't work out by the time you're 16, 18, and 22. So it'll be some of those life stories and lessons that I've learned and some anecdotes from people that I respect in the youth sports business.
Yeah, I really look forward to reading that. I think that's an important book for many parents to read specifically. So when do you know when? Is it, do you have a scheduled date for release or is it ongoing?
It's ongoing. I'm continuing to write it. I've been writing it for a long time in my head. Right now, I'm pretty busy building the Players NIL, but I hope to get that book out in 2024.
Is there something I haven't asked you yet that you want to mention?
No, I just want to say thank you for doing your research. You've done a great job, researching my background and asked great questions about this. And, I think the most important thing that I'd like to share as we sign off here is that name, image, and likeness is universal around the world. Personal branding, and whether you're an athlete or an artist or just a business person, developing a brand, today's world of digital marketing is a great opportunity. Platforms like LinkedIn, which is how we met, is an amazing way for you to start to tell your story. And you're interested in medical science, in law, in history, all of these things. Use it properly, and it becomes your digital resume. Make a mistake and don't do the right thing, and it becomes, your downfall. And so, pay attention, use this opportunity in society, not just in sports, but in society, to create a brand, use digital marketing to network and create opportunities, and the world is yours.
That's good advice. And thank you for the kind words. And I thank you very much for taking the time, being a total class act through all this period with the scheduling and everything. I really appreciate it. If the listeners want to reach out to you, where do they do that best?
Well, our website is theplayersnil.com, and you can get our contact information on there. I'm also on LinkedIn. Feel free to follow me, direct message me if you have any questions. On social, we're at the Players NIL on all platforms, at the Players NIL.
That's great. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Sports Management Podcast.
Marcus, thank you very much. And I wish you and your family and all of your followers happy holidays and a safe new year.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @sportmpodcast.